The raising of the Islamic flag over newly captured territories marked a defining moment in the early consolidation of the Ottoman state, signaling both military success and political authority in northwestern Anatolia. Following the capture of strategic towns, Osman I moved swiftly to secure Anagol and Yarhisar, establishing a pattern of rapid territorial expansion that reshaped the frontier landscape. The symbolic act of raising the Islamic banner reflected more than spiritual authority. It demonstrated Osman's growing capacity to unify conquered regions under his leadership and project influence far beyond his original stronghold. Prior to these developments, northwestern Anatolia was a patchwork of Byzantine-controlled towns, independent fortresses, and smaller Turkic principalities. Osman's campaigns had already weakened imperial garrisons and disrupted administrative networks, creating openings for expansion. The capture and integration of Anagol and Yarhisar exemplified the combination of military strategy, local diplomacy, and psychological insight that characterized early Ottoman conquests. Both towns occupied strategic positions. Anagol provided access to fertile plains and trade routes, while Yarhisar controlled key passes linking inland territories to the wider frontier. Control of these points allowed Osman not only to secure revenue and manpower, but also to dictate the movement of troops and commerce across the region. The process of taking these towns was marked by careful planning and a keen awareness of local dynamics. Rather than relying solely on brute force, Osman employed a mixture of negotiation, show of strength, and tactical precision. In many cases, residents who had grown weary of Byzantine rule were willing to support or at least tolerate the Ottoman presence, provided that the terms of governance preserved their safety, property, and livelihoods. This approach minimized unnecessary destruction while maximizing long-term stability, transforming initial conquest into a durable occupation. Once under Ottoman control, Anagol and Yarhisar were integrated into administrative structures designed to sustain order and facilitate expansion. Local leaders who pledged loyalty were retained, ensuring continuity and minimizing resentment. Tax collection, infrastructure, and security were quickly established, reflecting Osman's understanding that military victory alone was insufficient to consolidate power. By linking these towns through a network of roads and controlled passages, the Ottomans created a contiguous zone of influence that extended the effective reach of their authority. The act of raising the Islamic flag carried both practical and symbolic weight. It communicated to local populations, rival beyliks, and Byzantine authorities that the territories were no longer merely occupied, but governed under a new political and religious order. The flag served as a rallying point for supporters and a warning to opponents, signaling the Ottomans' permanence and determination. As stories of the captured towns spread across the region, fear and respect alike reinforced Osman's reputation as a leader capable of both strategy and decisive action. Rapid expansion following these captures reflected the momentum that Osman had generated through earlier campaigns. The fall of Anagol and Yarhisar effectively cleared a corridor in northwestern Anatolia, allowing subsequent advances to proceed with greater speed and fewer obstacles. Byzantine fortresses and loyalist garrisons were increasingly isolated, while local populations, witnessing the rise of Ottoman authority, often opted for accommodation rather than resistance. This self-reinforcing cycle of success and loyalty became a hallmark of Ottoman frontier policy. Strategically, these conquests enhanced Ottoman military flexibility. Securing Anagol and Yarhisar allowed Osman to position forces along critical routes, respond to threats efficiently, and launch raids or sieges with improved logistical support. The consolidation of these towns also provided a base for recruiting soldiers, collecting revenues, and sustaining campaigns deeper into Byzantine-held territories. By combining territorial control with political integration, Osman demonstrated that effective statecraft depended as much on governance as on battlefield prowess. The psychological dimension of raising the Islamic flag was equally significant. It symbolized the emergence of a new power that could unify disparate Turkic groups, attract displaced warriors, and inspire confidence among local populations. It also unsettled Byzantine officials and neighboring rivals, signaling that Ottoman authority was both legitimate and enduring. News of these developments circulated rapidly, amplifying Osman's reputation and encouraging further defections and alliances. Economic and social stability followed closely behind military occupation. Markets reopened, trade routes were secured, and rural communities experienced reduced threat from raiders or rival forces. Osman's pragmatic approach to governance, balancing authority with incentives for cooperation, ensured that the newly captured towns contributed actively to the growing strength of the state rather than becoming sources of unrest. This integration of political, military, and economic strategy set the stage for the Ottomans' continued expansion across Anatolia. The expansion of Ottoman borders after Anagol and Yarhisar reflected a turning point in the early history of the state. It marked the transition from localized control around the founders' original territory to a coordinated domain encompassing multiple towns, strategic routes, and surrounding regions. By combining military initiative, symbolic authority, and administrative foresight, Osman laid the foundation for a polity capable of sustained growth and regional dominance. In retrospect, the raising of the Islamic flag over these territories represented more than a ceremonial act. It was a declaration of authority, a tool of diplomacy, and a psychological weapon that reinforced Ottoman dominance. By securing Anagol and Yarhisar and consolidating these gains, Osman transformed military victories into lasting political and territorial power. The events set a precedent for future campaigns and established a model of expansion that combined strategy, loyalty, and governance, a model that would define the rise of the Ottoman Empire in the decades to come. The capture of these towns and the symbolic assertion of authority demonstrated that early Ottoman success was not merely a result of battlefield triumphs. It relied equally on alliances, administrative skill, and the careful cultivation of reputation. With Anagol and Yarhisar under Ottoman control and the Islamic flag raised over them, northwestern Anatolia entered a new phase, one in which Osman's leadership, vision, and tactical acumen reshaped the political landscape and paved the way for the emergence of a powerful, enduring state.